Hey everyone, welcome back to Chasing Art. This will be part 3 in this series, and we're going to be working on the water between our vantage point and the island. I'm going to start off like I normally do, and I'm just going to, start off real light. I always start off real light. I always like to increase the values as I go. That way I can just kind of ease up on them and make sure that everything looks cohesive by the time I'm done. Now my approach to doing water is a whole lot of horizontal lines basically. I'll vary the pressure on the pencil to get some darker lines, some lighter lines, some spots I might not have any line at all, just to start getting the texture that I'm looking for. Now in case anybody was wondering, this was not I'm not a fast drawer. I will say that up front. I'm not fast at this, and I'm fine with that because I love the process of drawing. With that being said, this drawing took me around 10 hours to do. I know some people might put a lot more time into it. There might be people that can do it in a lot less time. But that's neither here nor there. Bottom line is, I spent 10 hours on this, and I was totally fine with that amount of time. The process of creating things like this rank at the top of my most enjoyable things in life. No, I'm not egotistical enough to think that this is the best drawing in the world and nobody has ever topped it before, because that's just totally wrong. But I do consider this a fairly decent graphite drawing as compared to, say, a few years ago that I might have done. A few years ago I may not have attempted something quite this size and this involved, at least not in graphite. See, and I think that's what you have to do, is you have to be able to look at where you are today and objectively compare yourself to where you were when you began, where you were a year ago, and see if you can find where you're getting better, and at the same time see those places that you still need to improve on. And I think that mindset is way more productive than getting down on yourself because you don't think you'll ever get to the level that you want to be at. I think it's fine to be critical of yourself as long as you can also see the positives. So, like I've mentioned before in other videos, the process of drawing has only ever helped me get better at painting. So I think for the immediate future, at least, I'm going to mainly concentrate on graphite drawings. With that being said, I'm sure that there's going to be color here and there, whether it be watercolor, acrylic, or, whatever. But I think for the time being, I'm going to concentrate mainly on drawing skills. Because like I just mentioned, even though I'm very happy with how this turned out, there are certain things in it that I feel could be improved on. And honestly, isn't that how we all feel about our stuff? But getting back to the water, I have my initial layer down, and there's going to be quite a few layers as I come back and forth over this. Building up darks, trying to keep my highlights. It's a constant back and forth for me. I'll be putting graphite down, I'll be picking it back up with my eraser. I'll be putting it down, I'll be picking it up. But this is my process. I guess if I had a better picture in my head of how I wanted this to look, like I have a general idea of how I want it to look, but nothing super clear in my head. So my approach to it is a lot more random. Like I say, I put graphite down and I pick it back up, but it as I'm working it and I start to see it taking shape, I kind of just roll with the shapes that I like and I get rid of the shapes that I don't like. And while this is based on a picture that I took, and I do have a decent reference for it, I'm not trying to copy every wave, I'm not trying to copy every line. I'm just trying to get a good representation of choppy water on a kind of a blustery day. And now that I'm pretty happy with the shape that everything's taking, I'm going to start pushing the values. I'll push the darks darker, and I'll try to maintain the highlights as much as possible. And what I found is the contrast between the darks and the lights. Your darkest spots are going to be underneath the wave as it's rolling over, and that really helps lend to the credibility of the illusion that you're trying to create. It just seems that those really high contrast points are what really start bringing the picture together. And you'll see that more and more as this drawing progresses. At this point, besides, some of the lowlights that I'm still working on, this is about as far as I'm going to push the darkness in this. I'm happy with how it's turned out, and I think that's a pretty good lightness of the water. I'm sure you've noticed this little blank spot here towards the bottom right hand side, and I'm just leaving that open so I can put the name of the lighthouse and the location in there. And you'll see towards the end of the video it'll pop in. And finally, we're getting towards the end. I'm just going through and I'm going to, touch up a few spots, just kind of make sure everything is sitting well. All the values are about where I want them. I'm just giving it a good once over, darkening up some areas, probably lightening up some areas. Just making sure that all the values are about at the point that I was shooting for. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that does say Round Island Lighthouse, Mackinac Island, Michigan right there. So, yeah, I need to work on my camera skills a little bit, I think. But before I do that, let's pull the tape off and see what we got.